हरिः ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् ॐ शिष्य आत्मसमर्पण कार्पण्यदोषो उपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् ॐ Welcome to the 58th class. We are in the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, Shloka number 51. The Shloka goes like this. Karmajam buddhi-yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchantyanamaham. This one will come more as the phalam, karma phalam, or karma tyaga phalam, or karma yoga phalam, whichever way we can put it. So here the shloka goes as karmajam, that which is born of karma, or the action, that action which is born of buddhi-yuktahi, driven by this form of focused mind. And the Buddhi-Yukta represents Buddhi-Yoga, which is the Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi. With that Buddhi, when you do an action, what is born? In addition to that, he also say Phalam Tyaktva, which is representative of Prasada Buddhi. Right? Having given up the desire for the results. Manishinaha. Man refers to the process of thinking, and Manishinaha literally means a thinker, a sage. For a person who is very intelligent or who has a complete knowledge, the term Manishinaha is applied. Contextually refers to those who are pursuing this path of Buddhi Yogam or Jnana Yogam. Janma bandha vinirmuktaha. Janma bandha, bondage with bondage associated with the birth. On birth and death in tradition, that is what we put it. Then vinirmuktaha, liberated from. Padam gacchanti, they go or they attain the position padam. Anamayah. Anamayah means amayam is the sickness that one has. Amaya. Anamayam means free of disease, free of any kind of a trouble from any sufferings, and so on. There are two ways of seeing this shloka. One is step-by-step elevation to moksha, and as an overview of how jnanis attain moksha. Buddhi-yukta, action being driven by the intellect, which is a reference to the karma yoga. Then, with certainty, giving up the results born of action. Hi tektva phalam. Manishinaha refers to jnana, which is one who has taken the path of jnana yoga. Vinirmuktaha janma bandhaha, gets liberated from the bondage of birth and death. Gacchanti padam anamayam, attains moksha. This is one way of looking at it. And another way is buddhi-yuktaha, which is endowed with the spiritual intelligence. Manishinaha tyaktva, wise men giving up phalam karmajam, results of the fruitive actions. Then vinirmuktaha janma bandhaha gacchanti padam anamayam. The first interpretation, in this Manishinaha is taken as an adjective to the ones who practice Buddhi-Yuktaha. which is referring to Karma Yoga or Karma Yogi. What do they do is the way that it is seen. And in the second interpretation, it is Buddhi-Yuktaha. Here, Manishinaha refers to Jnani. The interpretation leads us to the common way of Advaitic school's teaching. Going by the Kaivalya Upanishad, they take Manishinaha is through Jnana, one attains the state of perfection, the moksha. So here, that second interpretation is going step by step, taking with Karma Yoga, attaining the Chitta Shuddhi, and going into Jnana Yoga, attaining the Jnana and attaining the liberation. Our tradition or our darshana is, we do agree that it is Jnana which liberates. Jnana Yoga is not different from Karma Yoga. They are practiced simultaneously at all times. One need not finish Karma Yoga to start Jnana Yoga. Both Karma Yoga, which is dissociating oneself from Karma Phala, and Jnanam are essential for the Anamaya Padam. In this one, Jnana Yoga is not devoid of Karma Yoga. Jnana Yoga has always to be coupled with Karma Yoga. Even Bhagavan will say this later. In the 18th chapter, when we go, Bhagavan will make some clarifying statements to this effect. Right? When he is defining about, Arjuna's question will be, can you tell me what is the difference between the term Tyagaha and Sannyasa? Basically, Bhagavan would have used it so much interchangeably that Arjuna is prompted to ask this question there. And Arjuna's question will be answered in that Bhagavan will say what I'm saying right now. So, even if in case you take the path of Jnana Yoga, in the transactional world, you are still transacting in the same way. When you are, maybe you have taken up sannyas, you are living in a secluded place. Even there, you are bound by the elements in that particular area. You have to do that which is needed for that particular place. If you have students around you, then you have your own duties that follow. You have your own duty for the body. Whatever you need to do, you have to do. But the karta bhavam behind that action is removed. However, the karma is continued, which is what karma yoga is. Where the karta bhavam, that I am the doer, has been sacrificed, and it is to be done that is being done. And how is it being done? Kaushalam. That is the way that we follow our understanding to be. So just wanted to tell you the various ways this particular shloka has been interpreted. If you go into the analysis of the words, Manishinaha refers to the act of thinking, knowing, introspecting, imagining, right? All those things are mind's work. Manisha thus becomes a derived noun, which is having a deep insight, intelligence, a maturity, a very well settled and established wisdom. Then Manishin is an agent noun. Here, Manishinaha is the plural form of this Manishin, an agent noun. Thus, it represents Manisha, one who has that kind of a property is Manishin, and Manishinaha becomes a plural form. Pandit comes from Panda, learned or scholarly. Vidwan is from Vidya, one with the knowledge. Buddhiman from Buddhi, the intelligence, analytical mind. And Manishin, one whose knowledge has been assimilated in the Manaha, which means that which I am able to think with my brain, with my Buddhi, is exactly reflected in my mind. There is no difference. So that level of well-settled knowledge base or ability to work between the mind and the Buddhi together is Manishin. Jnani is thus one who has become the Swarup of Jnana, the undivided knowledge. That is why if I have a knowledge about something and it is not my Swarupa, then it is still only an awareness. I know about it. That doesn't mean I am a Jnani of that. A Jnani is where that particular knowledge has become a Swarup in you. How much is 1 plus 2? I don't even have to think. It is 3, right? It has now become a Swarup in me. This 1 plus 2 is the Jnana. But when I was a child, when I was not aware of it, I had to say 1 in the finger, 2 in the mind, after 2, 3, or 1 in the mind, 2 in the finger, after 1, 2, and 3. Like that, I had to count. Over a period of time, that learning had become so well settled that it is becoming a natural part of me. That is when I become a Jnani with respect to 1 plus 2. That is why if I know that Atma is Ekam, if I know that Atma is, Avyayam, it doesn't really matter because it is an awareness about something called as Atma. When this awareness becomes a knowledge settled in you, you are a Jnani, Atma Jnani in that case. The next term that we can discuss is Vinirmuktaha. Vi is the prefix that we always use, which is Viseshena. So here it is Viseshena, distinctly, without a reminder, right? So that is what is the concept of Vi as a prefix here. Ni is Nishchayena, right? The literal use is down, inward, and completely. Here we are using it in terms of completely, which is Nishchaya. Thus, it represents with no leftover an absolute state and unconditional liberation, muktaha. So, in our darshana, we speak of krama mukti and jivan mukti. Krama mukti is where we attain this mukti or this liberation in a step-by-step way. Jivan mukti is the mukti that takes place in this jivan itself. What is krama mukti? When you perform the upasanas, you attain the position of a Brahmaloka, right? Satyaloka or Brahmaloka, right? From any other loka, you have to come back to this Martya Loka, to this Bhuloka. Right? We know Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, right? And Satyam. This Satya Loka or the Brahma Loka is the Loka from where you can also attain the Mukti. Or from any other Loka, you have to come back to Martya Loka to continue the pursuit of knowledge. That is the way it is defined. And hence it is called as Krama Mukti. From here, I go to Brahma Loka or Satya Loka, and from there, I become one with the God, which is Mukti. The other one is Jivan Mukti. Having attained the knowledge here, attaining this Mukti. Vinirmuktaha represents the Jivan Mukti as the concept. The next one we speak of is Anamayam. The root is that mayam, that is the root, which is to hurt. From this is born Amaya, right? Amaya is a disease, that which causes a hurt, right? So disease, disorder, affliction, suffering, these are all the words that you can see as the meaning for Amaya in dictionary. The term is often used in Ayurveda. Vatam, Pittam, Kapam. These are all the doshas, right? This which is inflicted, the dosha that is inflicted by the imbalance between Vatam, Pittam, and Kapam is called as Amayam in terms of Ayurveda. Anamayam is free of, very similar to what we have in English. So that an as a prefix is going to remove that or will become something like a antonym of that word. That is anamayam. So moving to the bhashyam, Acharya says, karmajam phalam tyaktva iti vyavihitena sambandha, right? Which is abandoning the fruits of action, which is karmajam phalam tyaktva. The connection to earlier teaching remains even if separated in words. What is the fruit? Good or bad results? Iti vyavahitena sambandha. The connection to the previous teaching is implied even if separated in words. And then further he says, good or bad results, ishta anishta, including new bodies, they have praptihi, whether desirable or undesirable. Those who are endowed with a balanced intellect, which is Buddhi-Yuktaha, Samatva Buddhi-Yuktaha. He puts that Samatvam as the qualification for Buddhi-Yukta. Giving up, Tyaktva, the thirst for fruits completely and become wise. Manishinaha, Jnaninaha Bhutva. They are liberated from the bondage of birth itself. Janma bandha vinirmuktaha. While living. Jivanta eva. Meaning they attain freedom here and now. Such people reach Gachanti, the supreme abode of Vishnu, Padam Param Vishnoho, Moksha, which is free from all sufferings, Anamayam. He continues, he says, Athava, or Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya. From Buddhi Yoga, O Dhananjaya, iti arabhya, beginning thus, Paramartha Darshana Lakshana Eva. Only characteristics of the realization of supreme truth. Sarvataha Samplutodake Sthaniya, comparable to all pervading flood of water. The Vedic analogy that was given in Shloka number 46. Karma yogaja sattva shuddhi janitha buddhihi. Right, so again he is introducing that sattva shuddhi is very core to the karma yoga. From that, the buddhi which is born, intellect born from the purity arising due to karma yoga practice. Darshitaha has been shown sakshat directly. Sukrit, dushkrit, prahanadi, hetutva, shravanat. By hearing that it causes the removal of both good and bad karma. He has given more in terms of explanation, but this is the root of all the discussion that we had done. But at the same time, it is pretty directly clear in terms of what this shloka is representing as Jnana Phalam. What is the 52nd shloka does? How is it connected? Yoga Anushtana Janati Sattva Shuddhi Ja Buddhihi. Right, this is where the Sthita Prajna as a term comes from, which will be the question that Arjuna will ask in shloka number 54. So what he says is, intellect born from the purity created by practicing this yoga. Kada prapyate iti uchyate. When that is attained is now being explained. Having said that, he moves on to shloka number 52. The shloka goes like this. Yada te moha kalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyascha shrutasya cha. Going word by word, yada te moha kalilam. Yada is when, te your, moha is delusion or illusion, kalilam which is filled with confusions. Because it is mind related, the problem is the confusions that we have. Buddhir vyatitarishyati. The buddhi transcends or crosses over. Right? More appropriate is crosses over, but transcends is the way that several traditions, including ours, directly address it as something that goes above and beyond. Tada gantasi nirvedam. Tada, at that time, gantasi, one goes to or one attains nirvedam. A simple, straightforward meaning is vairagyam, a disinclination or a complete indifference towards what shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Shrotavyah, towards all that is yet to be heard of, and shrutasya, towards all that which one already has heard of, as in one already knows. That object-based knowledge which you currently have, or that which you are likely to have in the future. Anything that is objectified. Cha. That is what it means. You get vairagya from every form of objects that we experience, is the direct meaning that this shloka provides in Bhagavan's words. Going into analysis. How to identify if you are on the right path. In several traditions, they classify this as how to identify whether karma yogi has completed, or karma yoga, the process of karma yoga has been completed and you are ready for Jnana Yoga. We do not follow that. By now you must be aware of that. But generally and more often, mostly, it is seen from this point of view in a kramam, where they say that first you complete the karma yoga, then you move into Jnana Yoga with the support of Bhakti Yoga. And from the Jnana Yoga, you go to moksha, is the way that in several traditions they speak about. In Bhagwan's words, at the time when your intellect crosses the impurities of delusion, at that time you attain nirvedam, vairagyam. From that which you have known and that which you may come to know of later, you attain the nirvedam. Nirvedam is a very beautiful word. It is also used in Upanishads, right? And the most famous one is from Mundaka Upanishad. Parikshalokan karmachitan brahmano nirveda mayat. That nirvedam is very important. In simpler words, if you practice karma yoga, your delusions will cease to exist. That is what the context is being communicated. Now, it is often attributed to the organ brain as the function, but Vedanta identifies the four antakaranas: chittam, manam, buddhi, and ahankara. First is memory, the aspect of knowledge that have become firm through what one can call it as a knowledge, in English knowledge, or memory, that which you are aware of, that which enables a cognition to become a recognition. That is what is a memory. Then manaha is creative and emotional aspect. Whether you appreciate it or not, whether science is going to call it as a function of the brain, as everything goes to the brain and then those reactions are coming. But when you have a feeling, you always touch your heart. That creative and emotional aspects are also associated with that heart that you are touching. Unfortunately, the term heart is seen as an organ that pumps blood. That is a physical heart. But here, this is a subtle aspect of what we call as manaha. We don't say it as hridayam. In English, both are the same. They use it as interchangeably. Not a deficiency in the language. It is what it is in that particular language. Similarly, there are constraints you will find in Sanskrit or in other places too. So it is not, I'm not trying to compare language. I'm trying to express it from that linguistic point of view. So creative and emotional aspects are attributed to that heart, which is associated with love and other things in the Western side of the world, or we can say creative and emotional aspects that are associated with manaha, with the sukshma sharira called as man. Then we know analytical and logical aspects. Even this, very naturally, we tend to touch the brain, right? That aspect of being able to dissect things logically and create a deterministic meaning is performed by the buddhi. The ahankara is something that establishes an identity as this is me or this is mine, right? That mamakara janitvam happens from ahankara. And ahankara is that which creates this association of I to any concept, which is the one that divides the world from me. That it becomes, whatever else other than what I recognize as I becomes not I. The division is created by that ahankara. Shastra identifies these as sukshma sharir, and there is no golakam that can be associated. So when we talk of sukshma sharir, we talk of 5 pranan, then 10 indriyas, jnanendriya and karmendriya. This jnanendriya, if you want to see, you need to have the eyes. If you don't have the eyes, you cannot see. But eyes by itself cannot see. There is some kind of power involved. Otherwise, anyone who has the eyes will be able to see. We know that blind people do have eyes, but they cannot see it. So the power of seeing is different from the eyes. These eyes are called as the golakam to this jnanendriya. For the, sukshma sharir, there is no golakam that can be defined. Shastra do say that sukshma sharir expresses themselves through nadi. Nadi is kind of misrepresented to represent nervous system. But the count of nadi that the Vedas have done is not in accordance with the nerves that you have, the nervous system based definitions, right? So what we speak of is nadi is again sukshmam in how it expresses the thought, the actions that are performed by these sukshma sharira separately. Basically, these are spread all over your body in a subtle form. In another dimension, the personality is classified into 2, the emotional personality and the intellectual personality. Basically, the creative and emotional aspects define emotional personality, and the analytical defines the intellectual personality. Let us look at this intellectual personality. In this shloka, Bhagavan declares the result of following the path of karma yoga. First, relates to buddhi, the intellectual personality. The nature of buddhi is to divide and develop an understanding. What is that division? Like dividing an experience into right or wrong, existence and non-existence, sad asad, right, or truth and false, and among several other divisions that we make. We are specifically look at dharma and adharma, sadasat viveka, because this ability is only given as a capability to human. Animals are very limited in this ability. The example that we often give is where if there are 10 animals that are kept for slaughtering, and first animal is, the person comes to pick up one animal, all of which will jump, right? And as soon as one has been picked up and gone, the others will start continuing their own, activities. Right? Even if in case they hear other sounds, they are not really too very disturbed. Till the time the next danger arrives, they are only responding to the danger, not identifying the danger. That is why we say this vivekam is especially there with humans only. So it can be said that the swabhav, which is one's true nature of buddhi, in a human is to distinguish and differentiate between dharma and adharma, between sat and asat. Just like how one throws up when the stomach is sick, the ability to distinguish becomes faulty when the buddhi is sick. It distinguishes the other way around. As in, that which is not truth, it will attribute the truth to. That which is truth, it will put it under the classification of untruth or belief. God thus has become a belief and not the truth. This world has thus become the truth and not the mithya, mithya swarupam that it actually has. Mithya is, it has an appearance of existence, but everything is continuously changing. So what you have seen 1 minute ago to what you are seeing now, though may appear to be the same object, they are not the same object. It is an older product now. I'm looking at my laptop. This laptop is now 1 minute old. That is the whole thing. The main concept is there is a continuous change that is happening, whether a human intellect can identify it or not. This ability of seeing the Sad in its Sad Swarupam and seeing the Mithya in the Mithya Swarupam and seeing the Asad in the Asad Swarupam is the ability of the Buddhi. That Buddhi gets the amayam, the disease. So that is the way that we try to build it, to say what is this intellectual personality and where the problem lies in you or in me, in us, right? That is the core to understanding it. Okay, I do have this problem. All my issues, right? I'm having tension, I'm having, we are not talking of bodily deficiencies. We are purely talking in terms of the, fear that we have, the expectations that we express, drive that we try to pick on ourselves. There are so many things and which are putting us in the world of suffering and enjoyment and suffering and enjoyment. The cycle continues to happen. That is why it is called as samsara chakra. It continues, it repeats and continues. The fact that the buddhi is sick is the cause of such an experience. And so long as you try to correct the experience, it is like trying to apply the bandage on the mirror, looking at your wounds in it. Right? It makes no sense. The example may make you laugh, but when you really analyze, that is what we always tend to do. When our mind settles into the reality that, hey, it is not that which I'm seeing is me, the me is in front of the mirror, and I am being hurt, I need to apply the bandage on myself. That is when our Viveka has born. That Nirvedam is one thing that will take you to that path. That is the importance of the term Nirvedam here. This results in Nitya Vishaye Anitya Buddhi and Anitya Vishaye Nitya Buddhi. Okay, that is what I was trying to explain. The term Moha Kalilam, this refers to the sickness of the intellect, the Buddhi. Vyatitarishyati, when one is crossing over. Tadagantasi Nirvedam. So let us take a look at the term Vyatitarishyati. Vyati, this is an upasarga. This is used as a prefix to indicate separation, opposition, or thoroughness. All of these apply to this word, hence considered as a perfect prefix for tarishyati. If you apply the term separation, passing completely beyond. If you apply the opposition, crossing against the resistance, right? Being able to cross is difficult due to lack of defined attributions. Right? It is not having an object base for us to exactly define what we are trying to overcome. And hence, even if you apply the opposition as the meaning to vyati, it is appropriate. Then thoroughness, no partial. It is not like I have put one step on the other side and I am looking on this thing. Right? It is in this example that I give you of the mirror, as though I'm just trying to go behind, half of it is visible, and then I'm applying. Right? So it is the same thing, where we have to completely come out of that particular image in the mirror. That is the thoroughness. Tarishyati, thru is to cross, to pass over. That is the root. Becomes tarishyati in a future tense. Will cross, or future perfect tense. Will definitely cross. That is the concept that is established by this word. This can be seen as Karma Yoga Phalam. Bhagavan in this shloka declares that such a moha kalilam can be crossed over is the biggest reward that Bhagavan gives for practicing Karma Yoga. Considering the sequence where this shloka comes, we attach this to Vedanta, which defines moham as Atma Anatma Avivekam. This means identifying Atma as Anatma and Anatma as Atma. We attach aham to this body and think I am Nashaha. We attach nityatvam to this jagat and think this world remains the same and I cease to exist. This is the highest of any result one can get, which is overcoming this problem. Being able to identify I as nityam and world as anityam, which is the fact. Think of it, we have a problem, the refuge is our buddhi. Buddhi helps us to navigate through the challenges and helps us cross over all forms of difficulties. Yeah, this was something that I had thought at that time, which is, no, the reason why we say this is highest of any result is because for any problem to be solved, what we need is the buddhi to be applied on it. If you don't have that buddhi to apply on it, your problem will never get solved, or you will not be able to solve the problem. If that buddhi in itself is having a problem, then, anything that it attempts to cure is also going to remain in a problem. Because you are using a sick mind to cure something. And that cure is going to be based on how sick the particular mind is. Higher the sickness, the worse the cure that you will be able to define. And this is the biggest problem that we are facing. And hence, it is considered to be as one of the highest form of reward that Bhagavan can give, which is for Karma Yoga. Moha Kalilam. We are good at seeing deficiency on others. We even see that others are taking a path that would eventually be harmful to them. Unfortunately, we are not able to see that on ourselves. This is our moha kalilam. We think just because we are able to see a deficiency, the others are able to see it too. Another problem that we have. Even if it is on themselves or on me or on anyone else. So instead of being compassionate that they are unable to see it, we personalize it and think that they don't listen to us. We should show compassion. We should help them to see the truth. We should try to remove the darkness which is covering for them, not try to go and cure their problems. So that aspect is also something that will get born when you have the clarity that Bhagavan is going to talk about now. Delusion is a disease that only the person who is inflicted can take care and cure upon himself or herself. You can help the person by providing necessary means for them to see it properly. But to see and cure is individual's own responsibility. This is another important thing as a message that we take this shloka to pass on. When moham is killed, our clarity improves. Vivekam, the first of the sadhana chatushtayam, is the phalam of karma yoga. A very, very important karma phalam or karma yoga phalam. Tada gantasi nirvedam. In the first line, we saw the benefit of buddhi and the first step to sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, which is vivekam. In the second line, Bhagavan speaks to the benefits of manaha, tada gantasi nirvedam. The second step to sadhana chatushtayam, which is vairagyam. Bhagavan is using the same word, which is nirvedam, meaning vairagyam. Manaha. The nature of manaha is to wander. Manaha can never stay in one place. You think in terms of it. After 10 minutes, even if you are doing a meditation, where will your mind be? You cannot predict. It is the nature of the mind is to wander. But when the vasana inflicts the manaha, vasana is the impressions that we carry in our heart. When the vasanas inflict our mind, what does the mind do? It goes and holds on to think. मुझे ये चाहिए ही चाहिए. I'm not able to let go of it. All those things are the sickness of the manaha. The natural aspect that the manaha does is to wander. But because of the samskaras, because of the vasanas, the manaha will catch on and hold on to things. And thus it becomes the sickness of the manaha. Going into the word nirvedam, with is to know, nir is out, away, or without. So keeping yourself away from all that which can be known is the meaning of the term nirvedam. When I say keeping yourself away, not forcing yourself away, being uninfluenced by is the true meaning that should be attributed to the word nirvedam. Whenever you encounter an object, there is a ragam and dvesham. You like it or dislike it. Or it not even comes into your mind. As we have seen several times, I go to the shop. Today, these 5 objects have attracted me. Of the thousands of objects that I see in the Walmart, right? Not everything is attracting me. So they don't even exist. They don't come to my attention. Keeping yourselves away means becoming a witness and not be influenced by such ragam and dvesham. Bhagavan will say later that even for jnani, such attractions, when he is talking about pragya lakshana, we will be seeing this. A balanced mind is that which accepts such attachments the mind develops, but remains uninfluenced by such attractions. Right. No, we would have seen it. The best example is always of that of, little children. Right. To take care of the little children, I will pay attention on the little children. But other than that, they go, they do something, they try to put things down, taking it from the rack, etc. That is okay. We'll just put it back and keep going. Right. We are not influenced by what that particular child does. Your manaha is like a child. It just does whatever it likes. When you need to protect the manaha so that the manaha can help the indriyas to perform their actions, I need to have the control on the manaha. I need to call and say, hey, you take care of this. And then let the manaha go and wander whatever let it do. Whatever it does, let it do. And just keep an eye on that particular manaha. We become a supervisor and a controller of the manaha, not in the sense of you do what I wish only, not a commander in the sense of a controller, but a person who can take control of the manaha when required, letting go when not required. So nirvedam is thus a more appropriate term than even vairagya. That is why Upanishads have also used this particular term. Vairagya became more commonly used So we use the term Vairagya so that the message can reach much faster. Technically, this term Nirvedam is the most appropriate word for what we are trying to address. Tata Gantasi Nirvedam. Vairagya or Nirvedam is not an action, it is an attitude. If you practice, it is still an action. The Vivekam lets you practice, but Vairagya or Nirvedam is developed as an attitude, and this happens when you become a witness of your manaha. The very key message here. We are going to perform some action, no doubts about it. That action ignites the Vivekam in you. When the Vivekam is ignited, what it develops is the change in the attitude, which is what is Vairagyam. How to develop such an attitude? Realize that the attraction influences you when you look at every object, and the experience you get from it as something that gives you pleasure or pain. That's what we do, bhogam. This becomes the primary motive for anything that you see. Developing the vivekam in you that every object that you experience is an expression of God and not a means for your experience. It is not, this world is not for me to enjoy, right? That is the knowledge that you will eventually gain, because you will see that you are not able to enjoy that which you enjoyed earlier. The whole experience undergoes a change, making what you saw as a value in the world meaningless to you as the time progresses and as the situation changes. And sometimes it will go back to being meaningful and then again goes back to being meaningless. Anything that is done to create an influence of more bhogam, more pleasure, more happiness, we will learn that, hey, it is just an illusion being created. This is what has resulted in what I don't need as becoming a demand of mine. The whole life is becoming like that. Vairagya will ensure, not Vairagya, in fact, the Vivekam, this Vivekam will give birth to the Vairagyam, and this Vairagyam will separate the two. Bhogam will be dropped and Artham will be seen. That is the measure of finding your Vairagya. Artham means necessity, purpose. If it is not solving a purpose, then I don't have any attachment to that, and I will have a purposeful attachment only with the objectives that I have set. If my objective is to relax, no problem, TV could be a means. If my objective is to make ready these slides for Bhagavad Gita, then I'll be focused on making the slides. At that time, TV doesn't attract me at all. If something is going on in TV, I don't get distracted and go towards it. Not by force, not through my thought, but by the natural vairagya that is in me. It is not negation, it is nirvedam. That is the reason why I said the term Nirvedam is so very appropriate at this point. So what Bhagavan says is, when you cross over the delusional aspects that prevent your intellect from being able to distinguish between dharma, adharma, nityam, anityam, satyam, asatyam, etc., atma, anatma, at that time you attain vairagya towards all experiences that weaken you. Vairagya towards all experiences that weaken you is the most important thing. Not from all the experiences. We don't need to. Experiences are natural, it can come and go. My objectives will be very clear, and that drives me. And I don't have to kill myself only being in that objective or anything of that sort. That is tapasya. Tapasya is good. Yajño dana tapah karma natyajam. He will say that later. Right? As a tapasya, but we are not talking of tapasya here. We are talking of basically handling how your manaha should be handled. This is karma yoga phalam, where your own actions become the cure to your own deficiency. In Tamil we say, mulla mullada edukkaradu. Means if in case a thorn is stuck in your skin, we use the same, another thorn to remove the thorn which is stuck in your skin. Right? And that is the core to making karma as karma yoga and making the same karma which is binding me to liberate me. That is the art that you will slowly develop when you start consciously practicing karma yoga. We are almost to the end, but I don't think we can finish it today. And these are all important, values that needs to be contemplated. It may be a little repetitive, but very important, because from various angles, when we are trying to put it and churn it in our mind, it slowly settles into us and matures as a capability that we as a being carry it forward. So at this point, I will take a break and we will continue on Shrotavyasya Shrutasya cha in our next class. As I said, this class is not a class for listening and getting it. Rather, this class is for allowing that to seep into you. Right? So even if in case you need to listen it a few times, it is good in this particular thing, because the training of the manaha and evolution is always a challenge. So
yeah, I must tell you, this is the video which comes along. It's very, very useful to recall, replay. On my way to office, I replay and keep listening to the
wow.
YouTube.
Okay.
And that gives a real, what I see in the first instance may literally vary when I listen for the second instance.
That is true. That is true. I think you're sharing the same experience as I. So, yep, awesome. Hats off to you. Harihi Om Purnamadah Purnamidham Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.